All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and I'm coming today with 3 major different topics brought all together in one video, and they really don't have anything to do with each other. They're all watching the Commanders things, but I just felt like instead of making individual videos for each of these, why not just go ahead and throw it into one big video to where y'all can just press play and just keep on listening. So we have a few updates as far as roster moves that the Commanders made the past couple of days, as far as guys they've added, guys they put on the IR and things like that. We're going to dive into that. I feel like the most fun part of this video is going to be the middle third, which will be us breaking down some of the early 2026 NFL draft targets for the Washington Commanders. It's a lot of names being thrown around. Which ones are we the most attached to and why? Like, why is this player that great? Why do we feel like we have a need there? And then also, the last third of this video, just to kind of reflect on some of the names that we were attached to before the trade deadline. Of course, we ended up making no trade deadline moves, but these are things that we can keep in the back of our mind by the time we get to the free agency period of this upcoming offseason, where it's like, okay, this guy did want to come to the Commanders. The Commanders themselves were thinking about getting this guy before the trade deadline, things like that. So we're going to dive into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Appreciate y'all for supporting every video. Sorry I wasn't able to get a video out to y'all yesterday, but now I'm trying to see if I can squeeze in a second video later on tonight. So make sure you stay tuned. Shouts out to my Watch to the End gang that watches videos all the way through, the live streams all the way through. Y'all are the goats, man. But shouts out to Noti gang as well. And shouts out to my late night crew that even though I'm recording this at 4:40 p.m., some of y'all still be watching this at 4:40 a.m. Either way, let's go and dive into the video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. And yeah, of course, this season looks like it's pretty grim. You know, I'm not going to sit here and try to avoid that. Y'all know I'm Mr. Optimism, but it looks ugly, especially with Jaden Daniels potentially out for a long time. But that doesn't mean that we still don't have a lot of different things that we can dive into as far as the Commanders this season and next season. So stay buckled up, man, because I'm hitting y'all with a lot of content. Like I said, I'm working on 2 videos today, but I'm even working on like a research project, it almost feels like, to dive into how bad the injuries were this season for the Commanders. And is it truly not only one of the worst injury-riddled seasons we've ever seen, not only just from the Burgundy and Gold, but from any NFL team ever in history? And also, is it like a legitimate excuse to say that injuries ruin the season? I know there's a lot of other flaws that we had on the roster, in the coaching staff, and things like that, but can we honestly blame injuries as the #1 reason why this season went the way that it did? That's a whole nother research project video that I'm working on. I have a lot of different video ideas and tabs that I didn't get a video out to y'all yesterday, but I was just doing a bunch of research and a bunch of brainstorming, a bunch of videos, so just stay tuned. Now let's go ahead and get into the first third of this video. Well, first of all, probably the biggest news that came up out of this, especially 2025 season-wise on the field, wide receiver Treylon Burks was officially added to the Commanders' 53-man roster. He made his debut just this past game against the Seahawks, where he only had 1 catch, and then it looked like he kind of got a little bit banged up on that catch, but I guess he's good to go. It seems like everything's good to go. But that was him on the practice squad. Remember, we signed him a few weeks ago, but he was just sitting on the practice squad the entire time, and then against the Seahawks, he finally made his Commanders debut. He had 1 catch. Now he's officially been promoted to the active 53-man roster. So now he's like really for real on the team, and he will be a part of our games moving forward, at least through the rest of this season. Hopefully he goes out there and balls out enough. This is basically like an audition for the 2026 Commanders revenge season. I keep telling y'all that. Anytime I'm talking about the 2026 Commanders, I'm emphasizing that it's a revenge season, because while I know people are kicking us while we're down right now, but 2026 we're going to be back. There's no way we have an injury-riddled season like we did this year again next year. So we're going to be out for revenge. We're going to be hunters again, and I'm pretty excited about that. So either way, Treylon Burks, seize this opportunity. This is your chance to audition for the 2026 revenge season for the Commanders when we bounce back and terrorize the league once again, just like we did in 2024 and like we showed at times in 2025, but it just couldn't go together. But either way, of course, that was possible to add Treylon Burks to the 53-man roster because we put Christian McCaffrey and Marshawn Lattimore in the IR, which opened up 2 roster spots. Just go ahead and break that down real quick. As expected, the Commanders placed cornerback Marshawn Lattimore with a torn ACL and wide receiver kick returner Luke McCaffrey with a broken collarbone, both on the injured reserve. Somehow, Jaden Daniels with a dislocated elbow was somehow not added to the IR, but that's another discussion for another video. I'll talk about that later, some other time, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, we'll see. But apparently it's only like a simple dislocation, no fracture, so that's all good news as far as Jaden Daniels. But again, when you don't put Jaden Daniels on IR, but you do put Luke and Marshawn Lattimore, that's 2 open roster spots. One of them went to Treylon Burks, so even Ian Rappaport tweeted about it. Like, this was a pretty big thing that the Commanders officially signed Treylon Burks to the 53-man roster after originally signing him to the practice squad. And just to let you know the moves that were made, with Luke McCaffrey and Lattimore now placed on IR, that leaves 2 roster spots on the 53-man roster. So then we brought 2 guys to the 53-man roster, including Treylon Burks. Also, Sheldon Day was the other guy. We're going to dive into that soon. And then that also left open 2 practice squad spots. So we got to dive into who those guys are that were added to the practice squad. So before we even get there, though, again, Treylon Burks, fit active roster. And I'm pretty excited about his potential because, again, that one catch he had was pretty significant. And some people were even hypothesizing that since this was done right before the trade deadline, some people thought that maybe this is a precursor for trading away Deebo Samuel. But nah, they ended up keeping Deebo Samuel. Again, I'm an optimist, so I'm just hoping that ideally we re-sign Deebo Samuel in the offseason, and then we're on this 2026 revenge tour, and Deebo Samuel's a big part of it. But I'm also hoping Treylon Burks shines and becomes one of our strong contributors for this roster moving forward. I hope he's one of Jaden Daniels' favorite targets for many years to come. That's just the ideal situation way later down the line. And he's going to get a lot of opportunities, bro, with Terry McLaurin still dealing with a quad injury, Noah Brown still on IR dealing with a groin injury and all of that type of stuff. And again, Luke McCaffrey now on IR. Is Deebo Samuel and friends? I mean, Treylon Burks, I guess you could throw Chris Moore in that group. Robbie Chosen didn't even play against the Seahawks. He wasn't even active. He was on the practice squad, but he didn't play. You have Jalen Lane that can't catch anything. You know, Treylon Burks will definitely get his opportunities. And they played him quite a bit. He was usually in there on run blocking situations, and he had some good blocks. I remember like a block or 2 that weren't good, but you know, at least he tried, and he went out there and tried to show what he could do. And then most notably of the 2 guys that the Commanders added to the practice squad, because again, 2 main guys, Luke McCaffrey, Lattimore, go to IR. That means 2 open 53-man roster spots. That gets filled in with Treylon Burks and Sheldon Day, which means those 2 guys from the practice squad leave 2 practice squad spots open. And cornerback Trey Hawkins is the most notable guy that was added as one of those 2 spots got filled up. Because Daryl Worley, he was already here. He's already been on the practice squad before, so he was added to the practice squad as well. But the main guy is Trey Hawkins. He's a 6th-round pick by the Giants in the 2023 NFL Draft. He's appeared in 20 games with 4 starts, recording 45 tackles with 3 pass breakups. Hawkins spent the last 2 seasons of his collegiate career at Old Dominion, where he had 133 tackles, 13 pass breakups, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions. I mean, he was out of small school, but he was hooping there. Since he's gotten to the NFL, he hasn't been much of a lot. But hey, we're to the point this season where any young guy, sign me up. I don't care how bad his past has been. I don't care how whatever has happened. If they're young, I'm down. You know what I'm saying? Just give them a shot. We're holding auditions for the remainder of this season. We are at the halfway point of the season. We still have a lot of games to go. I think this is a perfect opportunity to hold a lot of auditions for younger guys. There's no reason to keep playing the older guys over younger guys. I love Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, and all of those guys for what they did last year for us, and even what Von Miller tried to do this year. But at this point, these snaps are too meaningful. They're too valuable for you to just still be giving them to guys that you know for a fact will not be here next year, or at the very least are more than likely not going to be here next year. Go ahead and let Ben Sinnott hoop at tight end. Go ahead and let Jordan McGee and Kane Madrano and Ale Cajo hoop at linebacker. Let Tyler Owens get more snaps at safety and things like that. And including even these random guys you're signing to the practice squad. If they're young, play them. I don't care, bro. Give these, because you just never know. Maybe you find a gem, and then we carry this gem on to the 2026 season, and then now you just have this sudden star, or at least a strong contributor that you wouldn't have found elsewhere if you didn't start holding mid-season auditions. So go ahead and let that go. Also, of course, Daryl Worley, just real quick, he's a 3rd-round pick by the Carolina Panthers 2016, so he's older a little bit. He's not like a 2023 draft pick like Trey Hawkins. This is an older guy. That's why I'm not stressing, hey, get Daryl Worley on the field. No, I want younger younger guys, please. I want you 2020 draft or younger probably, and then that's it for me. But either way, Daryl Worley appeared in 99 games with 64 starts. This is a seasoned veteran. This is the type of guy you bring in if you still feel like you have a chance to go to the playoffs and make a run and you just need some solid veteran depth. I'm way more, sign me up for more Trey Hawkins. Less Daryl Worleys, please. We don't need any more Daryl Worleys. But either way, spent last season with the Titans, but he also played for the Raiders, Cowboys, Bills, Lions, and Ravens. He has recorded 344 tackles with 6 interceptions, 42 pass breakups in his 9-year professional career. Worley was a member of the Commanders training camp roster, if you remember that. Then he ended up, of course, not making the 53-man roster, being brought to the practice squad, then let off the practice squad, back onto the practice squad, things like that. Again, I'm rooting for the Trey Hawkins experiment, but we'll see what other young guys we may also add to the mix. That's another video that I want to dive into, like how I briefly just, sprinted through the fact that Jordan McGee, Ale Cajo, and Kane Madrano need to play more and things like that. I want to do like an entire video dedicated to the guys that need to play more, the younger talent in different position groups that need to start to get starting level snaps for the remainder of this season, and why. I'm going to even have like some film studies, some stats to give y'all and things like that. But either way, now we're moving on to the second third of this video. Again, the part that I feel like is probably the most fun. But before we move on to the next part of this video, shouts out to Sleeper, man. And with them, you have a chance to 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football, man. I know the season's going a little ugly, but we still have a lot of things to root for and watch this season. Even though we're already starting to get into draft talk again, we have a golden opportunity for the rest of this season to see which young guys want to be a part of winning football next year. So I want to see more Jordan McGee. I want to see more Bill. I want to see a lot more Chris Rodriguez at running back. I want to see some of the younger wide receivers out there and things like that. And you can pick on stats for these guys, touchdowns, like especially like Treylon Burks, touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. And right now, new users, as you can see on the screen right now, can get a free $20 without even depositing, on top of the already 100% match up to $100 using promo code SCORE, that's SCORE, or you can just click the link at the top of the description of this video. And every video on live stream I'll be doing all season, man. Shouts out to Sleeper. And y'all know me, man, I like to get into some picks, and this is one of those times where I just wanted to dive into the NFL popular duos. And I was scrolling, I saw the one with the highest reward. This is the biggest risk. This is the one that they consider the least likely to happen, but it's the one that can bold the biggest reward. They have a 4.7 multiplier on it, so you could put 10 on this, and you just gotta hope that Brock Bowers, who had, I think, three touchdowns, my Georgia dog had like 3 touchdowns last week, all he needs is 1. RJ Harvey, all he has to get is 1 touchdown against the sorry Raiders defense. All these guys need is 1 touchdown each in any way. It could be rushing, receiving, whatever. You can end up turning 10 into 47, or if you want to go bigger, you can turn 20 into 95. You can turn 100 into 475, bro. Depends on how you want to do it. And again, mind you, all you need is these 2 players to get touchdowns. But again, shouts out to Sleeper, man. You have a chance to, depending on how you finesse it, to 1,000 times your cash with Sleeper. That means literally turning $1 into $1,000, depending on how you set up your 8 legs and things like that. But either way, let's go ahead and dive into the rest of this video. This is a quick mock draft roundup for the Commanders. We're only talking first round picks. People aren't out here doing like 7-round mock drafts already. I'm gonna save that for when I do my first official mock draft for the Washington Commanders. But just to let you know, there are now 4 teams with a 1% chance or less to make the NFL playoffs, according to Kalshi. That's the Jets, Saints, Dolphins, and of course, yours truly, the Washington Commanders. And out of everybody on that list, we were the only ones that had high expectations, and like earlier in the season, were really high in percentages, and then we just plummeted. As you can see on the screen right now, everybody else has basically been sorry since the season jumped off. You could just tell, something happened to the Commanders somewhere in the middle of this graph right here. Again, I'm going to say it's injuries. I'm working on a whole research project to present to those of y'all that for some reason feel like we can't blame injuries on this season for whatever crazy reason. I don't know what kind of tough guy mentality that is, but injuries are the reason this season went the way it did. You could just see as soon as we started to get hit with injuries, this whole chart declined. But either way, we are the only team out of this group of 4 that had real aspirations this season, at least a few weeks in. Maybe the rest of those teams, maybe going into week 1, they thought something would happen. But we're the only team that midway through what's already happened this season by like week 4 still thinking, okay, we can still make this season somewhat magical. But again, injuries hit us bad. Either way, the most important takeaway, is that we have a 1% chance of making the playoffs alongside the Jets, Saints, and Dolphins. So maybe that puts us in the group of maybe we're potentially headed to a top 4 pick as well. If we're top 4 and least likely to make the playoffs, maybe we end up with a top 4 pick in the draft. We will see, especially with Marcus Mariota starting a lot of games for you. We may even get to a point where Josh Johnson is starting. But either way, let's dive into it. So Phil Yates was up there with Greeny and Mel Kiper, and they did their mid-season top 10 mock draft. Of course, we now have the 10th pick. Shouts out to the Cardinals, bro, because if the Cardinals did not beat the Cowboys, everything would be completely different right now. Because the Cardinals beat the Cowboys, we moved to 9th in draft pick. We used to be 10th, so shouts out to them. That was like a win-win. Where the Cowboys lose, we're always happy to see the Cowboys lose, and there's no excuses for them. They aren't anywhere near as hurt as we are. They just suck. We're hurt. They just actually terrible. But either way, the Cardinals beating them not only fun, hey, great job beating the Cowboys, but also it moved us up in draft pick because the Cardinals were ahead of us in draft order until they beat them. But either way, we are now technically holding the 9th pick right ahead. Would you believe it? The Ravens are 10th, but you know, now that they have their starting quarterback back, they believe they still can go on a run to make the playoffs. Either way though, in their pick, they had us taking Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. And I'm gonna do like a quick breakdown of who he is very soon. And when we get into some of these other mock drafts that have like Jeremiah Love going to the Commanders, because there are a few other ones too. This is not the only set of group of people or organization or network that has projected Jeremiah Love to the Commanders in the top 10 in NFL draft as of like this week, you know what I'm saying? So when we get to those other ones, then we'll dive into who like Jeremiah Love and who he is and his skill set and things like that. But for now, I just thought about the fact that like, I mean, hey, when you're sitting at this spot that we are right now, before we even get into all of these other mock drafts, do you want like a Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, game-breaking level running back? Or maybe do you want a guy like Arvell Reese, who I honestly can't even comp to anybody off the top of my head because he plays every linebacker position. He does the middle linebacker, quarterback, of the defense stuff like this year's Bobby Wagner does well. Bobby Wagner, that's the only thing Bobby Wagner really does well this year. He does the sideline to sideline stuff that we see, you know, in flashes from Jordan McGee that really stands out on this defense because we don't have another guy doing that. And he also has elite pass rusher tools as well. Like, he's already better at getting after the quarterback, I believe, than even Frankie Louvu is as far as beating a left tackle or a right tackle. I mean, Arvell is really like the better at everything version of Jahad Campbell is the best way to really word it. I mean, he's had like this Abdul Carter type of ceiling as far as a pass rusher if an NFL team that drafts him wants to do it more often. Honestly, now that I'm really thinking about it, his closest comp is probably like a Micah Parsons, primarily like a dominant off-ball linebacker with traits to become an elite edge rusher in the NFL if that the defensive coordinator that gets him wants to do that. And I mean, he's literally like what Micah Parsons was coming out of Penn State. I think somebody inevitably will turn him into more of a pass rusher than an off-ball linebacker, but he could do both very well. And I'm assuming that we probably won't even pick high enough for Caleb Downs or Ruben Bain, but you'll see in some of these mock drafts, some people feel like they will fall to us. I mean, we're probably not going to be picking high enough to get Jordan Tyson either at wide receiver. But then again, safeties like Caleb Downs usually don't go that high no matter how great they are. But at the same time, safeties usually aren't this good as Caleb Downs. In my opinion, even as dirty as he did my Georgia Bulldogs while transferring and, you know, pulling up and acting like he was going to transfer to us, he was telling Kirby Smart, he was telling all of the players. He even got to the point where he was picking out dorms that he was going to stay in just to go ahead and transfer to Ohio State. That was all just to troll us and everything like that. So even with that bad taste that I have for Caleb Downs, I can't deny that I feel like the best safety I've seen in college in at least the past 5 to 8, maybe even more years, bro. Like better than Kyle Hamilton, better than all of these other guys that are coming out. And so again, safeties don't typically go that high, but he's a different type of safety, dog. I mean, I'm talking better than Minka. I think he's better than a lot of these guys, bro. But either way, now moving on to the 2026 mock draft roundup. USA Today also has us taking running back Jeremiah Love of Notre Dame. They said Washington needs impact players at skill positions on offense. With Tyson off the board, they take the #1 running back in the class. Love is the ideal archetype of the modern running back. At 6'4", 214 pounds, he has NFL size with sprinter speed to be a game-breaking back whenever he touches the ball. The former track star boasts route running abilities and solid hands to be a third down back immediately. I mean, that literally is like the comp and the description that people use for Jahmyr Gibbs coming out of the draft. You could argue maybe even Jeremiah Love, maybe he even has a higher ceiling. Then you have A to Z Sports. They did a whole mock draft going, I think they went like several rounds or something like that. But most notably, they have us taking Caleb Downs with the 12th overall pick. But again, mind you, they did this before we move all the way up to the 9th pick. So, I mean, if we move up 3 spots, then you definitely should be able to get Caleb Downs, right? They said Downs has remained one of the highest floor prospects in this class. I would definitely agree with that. He's probably the safest pick out of everybody in this draft class, to be honest with you. Arvell, Ruben Bain, all of those guys, you could say like higher ceilings and things like that. You could argue maybe, but like the safest pick, like where you know Caleb Downs is for sure going to be this one guy in this entire draft I could pick to be a perennial Pro Bowler. I think Caleb Downs is probably the safest one. While his role in the NFL will require creativity, Dan Quinn feels like the right coach to unlock it. Downs has the instincts and range to play in multiple roles on a defense that desperately needs youth. I mean, we need him everywhere, bro. Caleb Downs, use him how you used Jeremy Chin last year. Use him like how the Ravens use Cal Hamilton. Use him how like we want to use Quan Martin this year. You can do him. You can use him in so many different ways, bro. It's insane. He's too talented to not be effective no matter really where you put him, but I feel like a creative defensive coordinator can get all pro out of him, honestly. Also, then you have Pro Football Focus. They have us with the 9th pick, and they have us taking, guess who? Safety Caleb Downs out of Ohio State. Downs doesn't get the appreciation his talent deserves because of his traditionally less valued position. I agree. But the fact of the matter is that no coverage assignment, whether man or zone, is too great for him. He has earned an 80 plus Pro Football Focus run defense and coverage grades this season, and will likely be the 3rd straight season where he'll record a Pro Football Focus overall grade above 80. I don't care about the grade stuff. The eye tests tell you, bro, this is arguably the best safety I've seen, especially coming out of high school. This is a guy that's born and raised Georgia and all of that type of stuff. So I already knew about him way back since high school. And I mean, as much as I love Malachi Starks coming out, Caleb Downs is a better prospect than him. Even as much as I love KJ Bolden coming out of high school, who's still currently on the Georgia Bulldogs. He's a sophomore right now. And when we're talking about all of these elite safeties coming out of the state of Georgia from high school, all of these guys are perennial 5-star guys, top 10 in their recruiting cycles across the nation and things like that. But Caleb Downs is just like a different level than all of those guys. I love Malachi Starks. I love KJ Bolden. Caleb Downs is different. And again, this is coming from a guy that has every reason to be biased towards Caleb Downs. He's just too talented, bro. And even Walter Football with the 9th overall pick, Caleb Downs, safety, Ohio State. The Redskins have a poor defense. They need lots of help in the secondary. Caleb Downs projects as one of the top playmaking safeties in the NFL for several years. Then we move on to some different names. So you have CBS Sports, and this is coming from Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports. Have us picking at 9th overall, so these are more updated. When they have us picking at 9th, that's how you know it's after the Seahawks loss. They have us taking Ruben Bain, the edge rusher out of Miami. I honestly feel like he's probably not going to make it this far hit down. I would be shocked to see all of these other guys go before him. I know, this is supposed to be a great quarterback draft with Ty Simpson, Dante Moore, Fernando Mendoza, and things like that. But even then, bro, like, Ruben Bain, bro, I would be shocked he doesn't go top 3, but that's just me. But either way, Ryan Wilson said for Washington, Bain Jr. is an explosive, violent edge rusher with rare power and bend and capable of turning the corner from wide alignments and overwhelming tackles with speed to power. He wins with a deep arsenal of pass rush moves from bull rushers to inside counters and plays with exceptional contact balance and hand usage to shed blocks both as a rusher and run defender. Relentlessly disruptive and highly explosive off the snap, Bain consistently collapses pockets, sets a firm edge, and makes impact plays from whistle to whistle. I guess the closest, because again, I don't have a comp for Caleb Downs because I haven't seen a safety like that in a long time. I don't want to compare him to like Sean Taylor because I just feel like Sean Taylor's immortalized, not even just amongst his fan base, but for me, because we just never know what Sean Taylor could have become. I truly feel like Sean Taylor had the makings of being the best safety in NFL history. But Caleb Downs, if you're talking about just role where he could play strong, free, in the box, the big nickel, Buffalo nickel, whatever you want to call him, star, like he could do everything in the secondary. I think Caleb Downs is maybe like a diet version of what Sean Taylor could have become, which is, again, a perennial Pro Bowler, all pro level guy. But Ruben Bain, I don't know. I feel like when I watch him, of course, I have a lot more tape to watch because, again, I thought this season was headed to playoffs and Super Bowl. I haven't been keeping up with college as much as I normally do. I've been watching a lot of college football, but I've been watching it purely as a college football fan and not with like through the lens of a scout. So now I gotta really catch up. This is like me just starting to catch up on what's going on with the draft. I didn't expect to be here. So I haven't seen a lot of Ruben Bain, but the little bit I have seen, it looks a lot Khalil Mackish, but we'll see what happens. You know, we have a lot of film watch, film study. I mean, not even just film study on my part. Ruben Bain still has a lot of games left to play in college this season, so things could change. He could get better at certain things, or maybe other things could start to get exposed. Some of his weaknesses could be exposed by other teams that they go against. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, though, Ruben Bain looks Khalil Mackish, if I had to say so far right now. Then we're starting to get into wide receiver discussions. Again, the Jordan Tyson kid from Arizona State, I think he's going to be the first receiver that leaves, but don't sleep on Carnell Tate. Athlon Sports has us picking 9th overall, taking Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State, bro, and he is for real different. I know a lot of people show a lot of love to Jeremiah Smith over there, and I'm with good reason. Like, he looks like another Julio Jones. He looks like another generational talent type of guy. Like Jeremiah, even with all of these great Ohio State wide receivers, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Emeka Egbuka, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jeremiah Smith looks like he's going to be better than even all of those guys. Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, Ohio State, bro. I'm sick of it, bro. I'm absolutely sick at how ridiculous they are at wide receiver. But Carnell Tate, he may not necessarily be Jeremiah Smith, but again, even when talking Garrett Wilson, all of these guys, I don't think projection-wise, ceiling-wise, they're all Jeremiah Smith. I think Carnell Tate fits in snugly with the Garrett Wilsons, Chris Olaves, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s and stuff. I think he's that good, bro. And Athlon Sports said this defense needs a ton of help, but injuries have exposed a severe lack of depth among Washington's pass catchers, and they can't leave a talented young quarterback like Jaden Daniels with a bare cupboard of weapons. Tate is the latest in a long line of top flight receiver prospects to come out of Columbus with a pro-ready combination of size, route running skills, hands, and body control that would make him a stellar complement to Terry McLaurin. I would say Carnell Tate doesn't necessarily have like the highest ceiling, but if we're talking floor, I think he has the highest floor of any wide receiver in this class. And you know, coming out of college, the knock on Emeka Egbuka and even Jackson Smith-Njigba, high floors, but like, what's their ceiling really? Like, how good can they possibly be? Like, what's their ultimate best case scenario? Well, you're seeing Jackson Smith-Njigba with the supposed high floor, not a very high ceiling, lead the NFL in reception yards right now. And he's even had a bye week while other NFL teams have not yet. You know what I'm saying? We haven't had a bye week, and he's out receiving all of our receivers by far, not even close. So Carnell Tate, don't hesitate to take him just because he's considered this really high floor, but not a super high ceiling prospect. Look at it, what Jackson Smith-Njigba's doing. Look at what Emeka Egbuka's doing. All of those type of guys, bro. So Carnell Tate, different. Speaking of Carnell Tate, Yahoo Sports, 9th overall pick, have us taking Carnell Tate as well. Then you get to Bleacher Report, 9th overall, they have us taking edge Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. Now, I've been seeing Texas A&M hooping, but I have not yet paid attention as to how and why they're hooping the way that they are right now. And I'm honestly shocked that nobody has us projected taking Arvell, the linebacker of Ohio State that I've already talked about, that I would comp probably to Micah Parsons. But maybe they just don't think that he'll make it to the pick, whatever we're picking as of currently right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up rising up this draft order, though, because right now, again, we're 9th. Behind the Bengals. They keep wanting to win. They just lost a game where they scored 40-something points. They should have won that game. We should already have the 8th pick right now if the Bears didn't somehow pull a rabbit out of the hat of that game. I think the Bengals are going to win more games. The Raiders, they're close in a lot of their games. I think they're going to win more games. The Cleveland Browns, wouldn't be surprised if they win more games. The Giants are surprisingly better than what people expected. They may win games. I think, honestly, the only teams ahead of us that I think are going to stay ahead of us draft order are the Saints, Titans, Jets, and I can't even argue the Dolphins. It looks like, honestly, for this Spain game coming up, the Dolphins may be better than us, especially with Jaden hurt, with a lot of our starters hurt. We're going into that game with, granted, Tua Tagovailoa may not play as well. It may end up being Quinn Ewers that starts, but we're going in there with Mariota and who else? You know what I'm saying? So the Dolphins may even beat us. We may be picking in the top 4 about when it's all said and done. We may have our shot at like an Arvell, but we'll see. But either way, Bleacher Report has us taking edge Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M, and I haven't watched a lot of Texas A&M. I know they've been hooping, but I have not been watching their games, and I definitely have not had a scouting lens while looking at their games and watching Cassius Howell. So I don't know about them, but Bleacher Report says the Commanders' regression has occurred for numerous reasons. Among the team's defense went from finishing in the top 15 last season to this year's bottom 10. Dan Quinn's unit is surrendering just over 50 yards per contest between the two campaigns, and in addition, of someone who can provide some juice, particularly as an edge rusher, should be priority. Currently, the 36-year-old Von Miller is the team's second leading sack artist. It's horrible. I mean, again, Dorrance Armstrong was 5th in the NFL before he got hurt, but again, injuries, like I keep saying, that's what ruined our season more than anything else. The Commanders can replace all-time Texas A&M great with another promising Aggie in Cassius Howell. And then the quote comes in, Howell's lack of length will be heavily discussed during the pre-draft process, but his tape is hard to argue with. The Aggie may have short arms, but he uses them well and can win as a pass rusher in a handful of ways. He currently leads the SEC with 9.5 sacks heading into the weekend. That level of production is exactly what the Commanders defense could use. I mean, it sounds like kind of like a Nick Scordon-ish situation, you know what I'm saying, a little bit. But either way, again, I'm going to have to watch more tape on him to see what's going on. I got to watch more tape on everybody. Outside of my Georgia Bulldogs, I haven't watched a lot of tape on Ruben Vane. I mean, of course, I guess Caleb Downs would be the other guy I've watched a lot of tape on, but I got to watch more tape on everybody. And again, like I already said, everybody has more tape to throw out there. I mean, it's the college football season, man. And now let's dive into the fact that we had no trade deadline deals. Of course, the Commanders, by the time the trade deadline came around, didn't sell anybody, didn't buy anybody. And it was amazing because, I mean, there were these rumors and reports and trustworthy reports that they may end up being buyers before the trade deadline, and I wouldn't be surprised while they were hitting the phones. They were trying to buy some people, trying to sell some people as well. And We1 Dallas brings up an interesting point. He said, not ideal when you're one of the worst teams in the league and have arguably the least draft capital as well. What's the point in 8 more games of Debo in a lost year? Head scratcher. Again, I'm an optimist. I'm just hoping that we re-sign Debo to like somewhat relatively cheap, you know, since the season got a little ugly, got a little banged up at times and things like that. Maybe we could re-sign him for cheaper than we would have if we would have had a successful season. Of course, you prefer the successful season, but now me being an optimist, I'm hoping we bring back Deebo Samuel on like a nice 2-3 year deal that isn't too expensive. And then we're on a revenge tour in 2026, and he's one of the main reasons we're being so successful. We're winning games, and we're headed to the playoffs, and we're trying to go on a Super Bowl run in 2026. But either way, Josh Taylor brings up a good point. The bad, the Commanders only have 6 draft picks, but the good, the Commanders have a lot of cap space. I already showed y'all earlier, that like a couple of videos ago, or maybe my last video, I know it's sometime within a week, that we have like the 5th most cap space in the NFL. And he said we should even have more. Got to capitalize on it though and make some tough decisions. I agree. Shouts out to George Carmi though. He brings up a great point though too, as far as us not doing anything at the trade deadline. He said throughout this tenure here, Adam Peters has shown to be an aggressive GM. Trading Jahan, traded draft picks in 2024, traded for Deebo Samuel, Laramie Tunsil, that when nobody expected, Marshawn Lattimore, traded Brian Robinson. So there must have been absolutely nothing worthwhile, or at the very least, teams were trying to like take advantage of us being desperate. Like, I know you want to get rid of these players because your season is lost, so we're going to offer you less value than what you actually deserve in return. You know, Deebo Samuel's playing like he's worth at least a 3rd round pick this year, but we're going to offer a 6th just because you traded a 5th to get him and you're desperate. So it's probably a lot of situations like that where GMs tried to take advantage of us being down and out, and I appreciate Adam Peters for standing firm. But either way, let's dive into what could have been. First of all, there was a report that the Commanders were one of the top 3 favorites to potentially trade for Chris Olave. Maybe that's something to look out for in the offseason. He's only 25 years old. He's a former 1st round pick. Of course, another fellow Buckeye. I can't lie. Ohio State wide receiver U right now, even above LSU right now. Of course, so that's, you know, a Terry McLaurin alum right there. Also, there was a report from Tim Graham to keep an eye out for Deebo Samuel and or Von Miller to potentially be traded to Buffalo. And that would have made a lot of sense too, bro. I mean, at this point with the season going down, Buffalo probably needs Von Miller back. And if you're looking at like the advanced stats, he was having a similar season to Trey. Even as bad as he's been, it's just because Trey Hendrickson hasn't also been that great either this year. But Deebo Samuel was hooping, you know what I'm saying? He was doing his thing. You probably could have gotten back some really good value, but of course we ended up not pulling that trigger there. But that's something else to watch out for in the offseason. Maybe Buffalo may try to sign one of these guys, because again, neither of these guys are on contract for 2026 and beyond for the Commanders. Also, Easton Butler, another trustworthy source, typically right when they report things. He said the Chicago Bears tried to trade Tennessee defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons, but were shut down. And Simmons has 3 teams that he is apparently said that he wants to play for. He is willing to go to the Patriots, the Cowboys, or the Commanders. Of course, nothing came of it before the trade deadline, but again, I'm telling y'all all of these things to let you know that, hey, in the offseason, watch out. We may be looking to acquire Jeffrey Simmons, my fault. I don't know why I keep saying Simons, but either way, also before the trade deadline, it was reported from Easton Butler again, a trustworthy source. The Commanders and the Rams called the Dolphins about safety Minkah Fitzpatrick, so we may be willing to swing big on safety. And that may even include taking Caleb Downs with whatever our first round pick ends up being in the first round. So even if we don't end up with Minkah Fitzpatrick this offseason, it may be, that just shows you, we really want a safety. We're calling about Minkah Fitzpatrick, an all-pro level safety right now. So maybe they feel like safety is that big of a need, and they may address that in the draft rather than free agency. And then also, cornerback-wise, same Easton Butler, trustworthy source, said that 3 teams called the Miami Dolphins about Rasul Douglas, the Lions, Jaguars, and the Commanders. So that's another guy to watch out for, that in the offseason, maybe we target Rasul Douglas as one of our corners that we bring in, because again, I've already said it. I think Lattimore has played his last game as a Washington Commander. I think they're going to let him go in the offseason because you can cut him with no dead cap. You can get all of your cap space back. So again, right now we're 5th in cap space. You cut Lattimore, I think we skyrocket up to like 3 or 2 in cap space in the NFL or something like that. So I highly doubt Lattimore will be here. Now, of course, that gives us an opportunity to see if Mike Sanford still can play outside and things like that. But don't be surprised. Rasul Douglas was somebody that the Commanders were targeting before the trade deadline. Do not be surprised if we target him in the offseason. Again, it sucks that we missed out on making any moves at the trade deadline, but these are just some of the things that you need to be aware of. Keep in the back of your mind. Maybe write it down somewhere. When we get to the offseason, these are probably names that we're targeting, so just be on the lookout for that. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you about everything discussed video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Shouts out to my Watch the End gang, man. If you made it this far in the video, you still hear me and still see me, you are the GOAT. Appreciate you personally, man, because y'all don't understand how much it means for y'all to watch these videos all the way to the end for the channel and the brand and just the love, man. Appreciate that. Of course, leave a like on the way out. And of course, shouts out to my Noti gang that's on these videos immediately after I release them. Shouts out to the late night crew that's going to be watching this. Even though it's 5:17 while I'm talking to y'all right now, PM, somebody's going to be watching this at 5 a.m. And I still appreciate y'all at the late night crew, because I'm probably even going to be coming out with another video later on tonight for the late night crew. So stay tuned for that. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in the video, the roster moves that we made, Traylon Burks finally being upgraded to the 53-man roster. I mean, also let me know how you feel about, Luke McCaffrey and Marshawn Lattimore going to IR, but not Jaden Daniels. You know what I'm saying? I feel like what's the point of bringing Jaden Daniels back at a season that's already this ugly? But I'm also a person that said you should take Jaden Daniels out the game at some point in the 3rd quarter. He ended up getting hurt in the 4th quarter with a dislocated elbow. So, I mean, we'll see. Either way, let me know how you feel about all of the top draft targets. Let me know in the comment section any names that I didn't bring up that you feel like the Commanders should be targeting in the draft. What pick do you think we'll ultimately end up with? Do you think we're going to end up with a top 5 pick, or do you think we're going to stay somewhere in the top 10? Do you think, if you do, let me know what games you see on the schedule that you think the Commanders can end up winning. The Dolphins, the Giants, I don't know about either of those, but we'll see. And also let me know how you feel about all of the reports that came around the Commanders leading up to the trade deadline. Even though we didn't do anything, let me know how you feel about some of the names that we were potentially targeting, and how do you feel about our chances of potentially trying to get those guys after the season is over in the off season. Again, really appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.